Good morning, Legacy. Today's Tide Talk speaker is Mark Wyatt. Please give a warm welcome.
It's a pleasure to be here. Today we're going to be talking about something that always seems to have a kind of a surprise on people's face when they hear the term aquaponics. If I remember correctly, that the conquistadors went ahead and began to literally invade the Western Hemisphere and came across a very high altitude city that was surprisingly very large. It had a Aztec name, but today we now know it as Mexico City. They found that the demographics of that city was in the thousands. They couldn't believe that. In fact, they had a very strong mentality that European had everything taken care of, and the civilization was known to be very strong and so on. They asked the Aztecs, what are you doing to feed these people? And this is the image that the people told. They saw hundreds and hundreds of reed mats, and they had sprinkled the corn seed, the wheat, and so on, that would help them to eat. And this is exactly what you see here and here. The reeds would go ahead and suck up the wetness of the lake, and it would germinate the seeds. The seeds then would go ahead and drill down into the water. The fish and its waste would go ahead and provide the fertilizer, and that's how they would grow. And this is what you see in the background. Guess what? That's a very primitive form of the subject I'm going to talk to you about today. That nickname for it is water farming. The scientific form of the term is aquaponics. Aquaponics is a blend of two major sciences. One is aquaculture, which is the study of fish, and then also hydroponics, which is growing crops without soil. And when you join them together, it becomes aquaponics. In effect, we are in dire need of, in our present day, both the 20th and 21st century, is considered that our world as a whole is in a food crisis. The UN, as early as 2011, conducted a study saying we only have about 5% left of arable land. So the arable land means that, in effect, those were ideal conditions for growing food. In terms of what we see as a traditional way of farming, as we learn more about aquaponics here, we see that it doesn't use soil. And also, agriculture is one of the heaviest users of water. And what have we been experiencing in the past several years? And then the drought, huh? The aquaponics, it has what they call a closed-loop water system that then, in a year's time, it would only lose 5% of the water. In other words, it has a 90% efficiency rating. Guess what that means? The water no longer necessary to grow. The very first part of the aquaponics, it all begins with the fish. Where do fish live? Water. In the water. So we have fish tanks. What do fish do? No, they poop and pee. So a fancy word for it is castings or waste material and so on. Well, there is plumbing that sucks up the water that the fish lived in. That goes ahead and takes the solids that is in there, but also urine, which has a very high content of ammonia. Ammonia will kill fish, and guess what? If it's allowed to carry to the crops, it kills crops too. So in many respects, the beginning here is not good news unless something has changed. There's two types of bacteria. The first type then will they're attracted to ammonia, and then they will go ahead and begin what they call the nitrogen transformation process. Its waste will have changed from a nitrate to a nitrite. Then that makes it appealing to the second bacteria that I refer to. And that goes ahead, and once they consume it, the ammonia, its chemical composition, has been changed so completely that the roots go ahead and literally see a buffet table before them, where it's all throughout the water. And the roots begin to go ahead and take it. In order for all of this to be taking place, it develops what they call symbiotic relationships. Usually, you wouldn't think fish and plants would have a purpose for each other. But the definition of symbiotic or symbiosis is where two differing things then somehow go together, and they can go ahead and be of service to the other. Well, the fish waste ultimately becomes food for the plants, and then the transformation of what the plants do provides oxygen that then is sent back into clean water. Without oxygen in the water, the fish will die. How many seasons does a farmer usually get when it's using traditional farming methods? Maybe 2. They go bonkers if they have 3 seasons. Okay? Guess how many seasons you have in aquaponics? How about 26? It's because the plants are saying, "Give me more, give me more," and it's coming at them. In effect, they can't consume it fast enough. Yes.
So why is aquaponics more widely used? I've never heard of it. Obviously, it does sound like
Well, you just asked the $100 question. When you have something like USDA, you've got people making a whole bunch of money. They're going ahead and wanting to force their suppliers to provide food for the lowest possible price. Great question. What would I recommend? In fact, I've talked all over North America, and large areas of space are now being dedicated to aquaponics. But aquaponics is scalable. That means it can go ahead and be as small as sitting on a ledge in one's kitchen. If you can make something that simple, you've got an aquaponics system going for you.
I hope everybody could learn something from this week's Tide Talk. Once again, huge thank you to Mark Wyatt, and we'll see you in the next one.